Won't you take me to Function Town? All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about, is it a function? So we're going to discuss the definition of a function and then talk about a test we can use to determine if a graph is a function. All right, so the formal definition of a function is that each element in the domain corresponds to exactly one element in the range. So that's our formal definition. But remember, in our last few videos, we've been saying domain is just a fancy word for X. Okay, and range is just a fancy word for Y. And so we can condense this. For each X corresponds to exactly one Y. Okay, so for every X, we only have one Y value. All right, so that would be the condensed definition. And how do we do that? Well, we determine if it's a function, a graph is a function, using the vertical line test. And the vertical line test says if there exists a vertical line that goes through more than one point, so more than one, it's okay if it goes through one, but if it goes through more than one, it is not a function, not a function. Remember that vertical lines go up and down. So the way this works is we take a graph, we imagine that we're drawing vertical lines on the graph, and if there exists one, okay, notice that this is an A. If there exists one vertical line that goes through more than one point, then it is not a function. So to demonstrate that, I have a few examples to start off with. First, let's look at a straight line. Okay, so if we look at this straight line and imagine that we're drawing these vertical lines, well, we don't have to imagine, we can do it. All right, notice that if I draw a vertical line, at most, these vertical lines are going through one point, one point, one point, one point, one point, one point, one point. And visualizing the entire graph, I can see that there would never exist a vertical line that goes through more than one point. So this is a function. And now we've done it once for a straight line. You can see that every straight line will be a function. So that's your first clue there. All right, let's talk about another graph. So here I have a graph, and you can see, remember our definition, for each X, there's only one Y. Well, if I go to this X value, X equals 2, I would have a Y value there and a Y value there. So X equals 2 actually corresponds to two different Y values. That violates our definition of a function. And if I draw that vertical line, you can see that it goes through 2 points on my graph. Now on this one, there exists a whole bunch of them, right? This one would, this one would. But remember, there only needs to exist one vertical line that goes through more than one point, and it is not a function. So this is not a function. And so, guys and gals, it's that exciting time in math class where we play the exciting new game show called Is It a Function? Yeah, crowd goes wild. I don't have any canned crowd music. All right, so the way this works is I'm going to put a function up. I'll give you to the count of 3, and you decide, is it a function? All right, our first graph here. Is it a function? Well, notice that if I start drawing vertical lines, that at most, they go through 1 point on my graph. So this, in fact, is a function. Give yourself a big pat on the back if you got that one right. Score yourself a point. Graph number 2. All right, even though this is squashed, all right, we can see that if we start drawing vertical lines, that at most they go through 1 point. Okay, and my vertical lines are horrible because they're so thick. But in reality, if we draw vertical lines, and maybe we can do them a little softer there, they go through only 1 point. So this is a function. Okay. Next, we have Mr. Circle in the building. Is it a function? Well, you should be able to see by now that if I draw a vertical line here, say, that it would go through more than one point. All right, and now it doesn't matter where we draw it, there's more than one, so this is not a function. Okay. Moving on to our next graph. Is it a function? Once again, you can see, and again, I've got these grids on here so you can kind of see that better than my drawing. But you can see that if I draw vertical lines, at most, they go through one point. So this is a function. All right. And now for the bonus round. Is it a function? Well, if you're just looking down here, you might say yes, but notice that I've added these points to my graph. And if I draw a vertical line there or there, it would go through more than one point. So this is not a function. So how did you do on our game show? Well, I'm sure you did great. Congratulations, because U W O N smiley face. In other words, you won smiley face. Ha 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 ha. All right, I hope you've enjoyed the game show, and I hope now you can use the vertical line test to determine if something is a function or not. I want to take